The British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, BCIT. I'm Jake McGrail, and this is your Crow News at 2 p.m. Starting right here, BCIT held its first ever on-campus drag show last Friday. Our reporter Sonia Kutenbrauer has more on how this event hopes to welcome more people to the drag space.
Hello, what's up, BCIT?
It was the first of its kind at BCIT's Burnaby Campus.
Oh my goodness, how many people have never been to a drag show before? Oh my god, a bunch of virgins. I love
Organized by the Student Association, a handful of drag artists took to a makeshift stage for a small crowd at the Habitat Pub. Justin Saint is the chair of the School of Computing and Academic Studies for the Student Association. They say by organizing this event, they hope to bring more comfort to the queer population on campus.
It's kind of hard to find and pull out queer students. And I'm just hoping, we kind of can keep doing more events like this that actually help students come out, because it can be quite a conservative environment here.
While there are currently no plans for more on-campus shows, Saint says this will definitely not be the last time BCIT sees the art of drag. Sonia Kutenbrauer, BCIT News, The Crow.
The Matsqui First Nation and the federal government have reached a $59 million settlement over land being taken from the nation's reserve in 1908. The nation is in the Fraser Valley, and the land taken by the government was given to the Vancouver Power Company to build a tramway. Matsqui First Nation Chief Alice McKay and Canadian Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Gary Anandasangari announced the settlement together this morning. The statement released by the federal government says compensation for past wrongs is essential to improve relations with Indigenous communities. Certain food manufacturers are coming under fire in Canada for practicing shrinkflation. Our reporter Zach Clark has more.
Shrinkflation is a term for when a company lowers the size and weight of a product while keeping the price the same. Professor of Consumer Sciences at Laval University, Dr. Marie Cote-Amel, says that for companies, it's a common practice because it can often fool consumers.
Reducing the amount of food or the volume of the food within the package, there's a chance that consumers won't realize it, especially if it's done properly. The goal for companies is to reduce it by less than 10%, because under 10%, it can go unnoticed.
Canada does not have any laws that require a company alert its customers to a smaller product. Zach Clark, BCIT's The Crow.
Zach joins us now in the studio. And Zach, what are some most notable examples of this practice of shrinkflation?
Well, recently Kraft Dinner downsized their box sizes from 225 grams to 200. But some other notable examples that have recently shrunk include the Cadbury Cream Egg, Oreos, Nutella, Tropicana Juice, Campbell's Soup, and many more other products.
That's certainly a lot. And is this a recent practice that's been developing?
No, while it's come under scrutiny more so in the recent years, there are widespread examples of it heading back all the way to the 1990s, as well as a few companies undertaking the practice as early as the 1980s.
Thank you so much for joining us, Zach. Now, given the time of year, wildfires might not be on the minds of Canadians, but firefighters from northern BC have warned of what they call zombie fires. Those are blazes that smolder underground before re-emerging later in the year. There are over 90 currently active wildfires in BC and over 50 in Alberta. Alberta declared the beginning of wildfire season yesterday, over a week earlier than normal. The number of active fires combined with the drought-like conditions in parts of the province means BC is at risk for a big wildfire summer this year. Invasive fish can also be quite a problem in BC. Our reporter Abby Francis spoke with the executive director of the Invasive Species Council of BC to find out how these fish can be dealt with.
Gail Wallen from the Invasive Species Council of BC says goldfish stay relatively small when you keep them in a little aquarium in your home, but as soon as they're released into a lake or a pond, they can grow to be the size of a football.
They belong to the carp family, and they're heavy eaters, so they'll outcompete. They'll also take out a lot of the food supply, and they're very good reproducers. They can actually reproduce without mating.
Wallen says one of the ways to get rid of the carp is a net and dip, where a net is used to catch the fish as they swim near the shoreline in the fall. She says this method will only lower the population and it could never eradicate the fish. The Invasive Species Council will be releasing a new goldfish report in the coming weeks with the impact these fish have on the ecosystem. Abby Francis for BCIT's The Crow.
The federal government announced today that they have officially acquired all permits for oil and gas development on the Pacific Coast. Energy and Natural Resources Minister Jonathan Wilkinson hailed this as a milestone mark in the fight to protect our coastal environments. No new permits for oil and gas exploration have been issued since the 1970s, but ones before that date were still valid. ExxonMobil relinquished their remaining permits last year, and Chevron Canada did the same this month. The Canadian government wants to make it easier for Ukrainian nationals to access legal services. Our reporter Liam Higgs has the story.
The Canadian government is granting just under $500,000 in pro bono legal aid as a part of their Pro Bono Ontario's Ukrainian Refugee Legal Relief Initiative. The initiative helps Ukrainian nationals seeking refuge in Canada by providing a toll-free hotline that allows them to connect with a Canadian lawyer to help them with immigration-related issues. And as Executive Director of Pro Bono Ontario, Christy Mathers-McHenry says, it has had quite the impact.
So we have been serving people, and we've provided over 1,000 services, and so the impact is significant. And I think you have to kind of put yourself in the shoes of somebody who has a deep and complicated legal need.
The future for Ukrainian nationals is still unclear. However, funding will continue to go toward the development of culturally sensitive resources and training for staff and lawyers. Liam Higgs, BCIT's The Crow.
Federal Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre weighed in today on the debate over trans rights. He stated that he doesn't want transgender women competing in women's sports or entering spaces like women's washrooms and shelters. Poilievre also added that access to some of those spaces are controlled by provinces and municipalities, so his party's reach, should they be elected, could be limited in that area. Poilievre also backed the proposed bill S-210, which would try and restrict porn access for minors in Canada. First tabled in 2021, it would require websites that have pornographic material to have an age verification system before users can access that content. The bill does not propose a specific way to accomplish this age verification. Critics of the bill say the creation of some sort of digital ID system would raise massive privacy concerns. The owners of Pornhub, one of the biggest porn sites in the world, threatened to block access to the website for all Canadians should this bill be put into law. And speaking of the law, Law & Order Toronto Criminal Intent premieres tomorrow on City TV. The all-Canadian adaptation of the famous American TV show stars Aidan Young and Kathleen Monroe as elite detectives. We're now going to take a short break, but stick with us because I'll be back with your latest in the world of sports.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the program.
The 2024 MLS season kicks off tonight with a matchup between Lionel Messi's Inter Miami and Real Salt Lake. The match will take place at the newly renamed Chase Field in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, the home of Inter Miami. This is the first year since 2016 with no MLS expansion team. St. Louis City joined MLS last season, and San Diego FC will be the league's 30th team when they begin play in 2025. The Vancouver Whitecaps are not in action this week. Their season opener is on March 2nd at home against Charlotte FC. And the latest in the sports updates rolls on as NBA legend Vince Carter has said that if he's inducted in the Basketball Hall of Fame, he'd want to do it in a Toronto Raptors jersey. The Florida native, who was named an All-Star 4 times in Toronto and 4 times in New Jersey, was asked on the show Run It Back on FanDuel TV which jersey he'd want to wear at the ceremony.
Toronto. I mean, it has to be. That's where it started. That's where it all, to continue the rise. Yes, I had great years in Jersey, but it started there. And my confidence and understanding the player that I could be in the league was trending upwards still in Toronto.
Carter is a finalist for the Hall of Fame class of 2024. The final selections will be announced on April 6th. The NBA might still be in its All-Star break, but Hoops fans can turn their attention to the Canada West playoffs beginning tonight. The UBC Thunderbirds women's basketball team finished second in the conference with a record of 17-3, tied for their best mark in over a decade. They have a first-round bye and will play the winner of Lethbridge versus Victoria tomorrow night. The Trinity Western Spartans will also take the court tonight as they face off against UBC Okanagan in the play-in round. On the men's side, the Thunderbirds finished 5th in Canada West with a record of 14-6, meaning they must play in the play-in round tonight against the UNBC Timberwolves. The UBC Thunderbirds littered the list of conference all-stars. On the men's team, captain and 5th-year senior Brian Wallach was named a Canada West first-team all-star. Fellow senior James Woods made the 3rd team, and Adam Olsen was named to the all-rookie team. For the women's side, 3rd-year forward Olivia Weeks and 2nd-year forward Mona Berlitz were both named 2nd-team all-stars. Former Toronto Blue Jays pitcher Hyunjin Ryu is set to sign a contract with the Hanwha Eagles in Korea, his former team who he last played for over a decade ago. Ryu spent 4 seasons with the Blue Jays before leaving as a free agent. He had a 78-48 record with a 3.27 ERA in his 186 regular season games in Toronto. The Korean native will reportedly become the highest paid player in the Korean baseball organization with a 4-year deal worth over $12 million. Ryu won the KBO MVP award with the Eagles in 2006. The final first-leg ties in the UEFA Champions League round of 16 took place today. Napoli tied Barcelona 1-1 at home, while Arsenal and Porto left with a goalless draw in Portugal. The second legs begin on March 5th when Bayern Munich plays Lazio and PSG faces off against Real Sociedad. Looking at the weather now, it's still a mix of sun and clouds, but the temperature has climbed up to 11 degrees. That's about as high as it'll get today, and we could potentially see some more rain as well. Overnight, it won't be too chilly, though. You can expect only a low of 6 degrees. And that's all for your 2 p.m. news update. I'm Jake McGrail, and thank you for tuning in to BCIT The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.